Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Monday, July 1st, and if you're in Canada, happy Canada Day. We have a short week ahead of us today. Obviously, the markets are closed in Canada. They're open today in the US. Everything is looking green on the screen in terms of the indices and the futures heading into the open. We've got about 15 minutes, 18 minutes ahead to the open here today. And it looks like we're probably setting up for a pretty, I'm going to say green, but muted volume week. And what I mean by that is I believe that every day we should see green on the screen or near zero if it is red, not a big day up or down in many cases for the indices, not necessarily individual stocks. But I think we will see on Wednesday, prior to the July 4th holiday, we should see a bit of an uptick towards the middle to end of the day. We typically see going into a US holiday that the markets tend to end a little bit higher for the day going into that holiday session. And so this week is going to be a slower week, but if we look through health and retail as an example, we can see a little bit of an uptick on retail. However, it has been hammered a little bit. So take this with a grain of salt. I mean, Lulu lost $10 round numbers on Friday, and it's up $1.40 pre-market. So it's only making back 20% of what it lost there. I think it's a steal at that price. However, you have to look at where the consumer is in terms of their spending right now, and they don't have a lot of discretionary income in especially lower class, but middle class as well, due to interest rates and inflation overall. So they're probably going to be pushing off purchases at organizations, companies like Lululemon that, don't get me wrong, they make great products, but they're a little bit more expensive. They might be going to Costco instead and trying to find Lululemon on sale or a potential competitor to Lululemon in that capacity. So with that said, I might take a look at something like Walmart if I'm interested in retail, which right now I'm not, or some of the other companies that are out there. Then you have to look at things like Home Depot. Are people really making renovations, doing renovations to the extent they were back in COVID when there weren't a lot of new home sales? People couldn't move. They weren't moving. And now people really in the US anyway typically aren't moving due to high interest rates. So those are things to keep in mind there. Healthcare is slowly coming back. This is one where it's kind of a buy and hold situation. Humana had a great day, great week really, last week, and it's should be carrying that momentum forward. I don't think you're going to see $11 growth every day. That would be unreasonable expectations, but you should see some continued upward momentum into its next earnings release as we move forward there. JB Hunt had a fabulous day. So I was preaching on this, saying that I would get into this, which I did in the 157, 158 range, and then rode that wave up by almost $3 to 160. I think it's got a little bit more legs today. I think we might see it get to 161. Not 100% sure on that, but it does feel like it's making an upward move and there is a bit of a trajectory there. If you look at the 5-day chart, you can see that it was really near its low in 5 days near Tuesday, and then it recovered Wednesday, dropped again Thursday, but it dropped above the level it was at on Tuesday, and then it continued to climb up on Friday, and then although it did descend a little bit, it still had a few little peaks that got it back up near its highs for that day. If we look at CNR, I like CNR as a company. I think it's a great company, but I do think it could pull back into the 150s, and I would wait to pick that up in the 150s. The star today, I think, is going to be oil, and oil had a great day on Friday. Crude is now up almost 70 cents. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to stay there, because you know as well as I do, if you watch crude moves significantly. There's a lot of volatility in crude futures throughout the day, but we are in the positive here in the morning session. And as long as crude stays in the $82 range, whether that's 81.80 to 81.22. If it's in that envelope, I think we're going to see a good day for crude, and crude has started to make a comeback. So the names that are my favorites here obviously are Valero. Valero has done extremely well over the last year, and has been quite volatile, but that's good for the methodology that we leverage here, which is to look for points when that stock is down, buy them, ride it back up, and then sell it, and then look for other opportunities. So if we look here at the 5-day, you can see that again, Tuesday was its low as well. It has climbed up steadily. I think we could see this stock get to the low to mid 160s this week or next week. So I'm keeping my eye on Valero and have done very well with that one this year. Scrolling through the rest of them, I mean, there are some good names. I'm not watching them as closely right now. And then we get down into tech. And tech has been great for some of the big names, and some of the others have been beaten up around earnings. But we can see that it's mostly green on the screen here as we head in with the pre-market numbers. So ones to keep an eye on here, Palo Alto has made a move up from the 270s up to the 340s basically, where it is right now. That's a stock that could continue to climb, especially if we see a good earnings report come out of that. CRM got hit hard. It went way down, and it is now back up into the 257, 260 range. I think there's more forward momentum here. And then scrolling down further, I would be staying away right now from Microsoft at its near peak all-time highs. If you want to play a lot of volatility, ARM is a great stock for volatility. If it is off this morning and all other semiconductors start to move upwards, it's likely that it will correct and move upward as well. AMD has climbed back into the 162s. I like this more in the 150s than the 160s, but it does have the ability to get back up into the 170, 180 range, certainly before the end of this year. Moving down, another great software name is Workday. Workday's beaten up, down as low as the 200s really only a couple of weeks ago, and now up at the 220s. So that's a nice 10% gain in just the last month or so. This would be one that I would consider picking up if I wanted to hold something for a quarter or 3-month period. As we scroll down further, Amazon's been doing very well. I'm going to stay away from Amazon right now only because it's near its highs and not a lot of news coming out of Amazon. Tesla's been making a comeback recently. Looks like it's up $3 pre-market. The one that I am interested in today in the tech sector, one of the few, is Meta. Meta dropped $15. It was at $521 last week, and it came off that high of 521 down to the 504s. I'm going to wait and see what happens throughout the day. If Meta falls into the 400s, I'm definitely going to pick up some Meta. So I'll be watching on that. Not to say that you're not going to make money if you pick it up in the low 5s, depending on what it starts to do today. So again, that opening session between 9:30 and 10 is really critical to be watching to see what the momentum is around that. Google is a fabulous company, or Alphabet. I think it's a little price rich right now in the 183s, just based upon its trading range. I think it's undervalued, but I do think we're going to see a bit of a pullback as we go into this, I call it a summer lull, where we've got about 2 weeks now before we get to the first of the financial or the first of the earnings seasons for Q3, which is when the large financials come out and start that. So as we get into that, there's a bit of reshuffling of money. They're pulling out of certain sectors, pulling out of certain stocks. They're selling and taking profits when we're talking about institutional investors and large funds and indexes that are rebalancing, and they're moving into other products or other companies. So that tends to create volatility, which is good, but it could take one of the companies that has done very well for you that you're still holding and cause that to sell off a little bit. And maybe that's what we saw with Meta last week. With the price decline, not the price increase. And then we get into financials. So financials are starting to slowly come back, and they've been kind of a quiet mover behind the scenes. They haven't been part of the Wall Street narrative. If you're watching a lot of the financial shows, they're not often talked about right now. I'm not saying they're out of favor, they're just under the radar. And when things are under the radar and momentum is building, it could be very positive. So Goldman had a great day on Friday. It looks like it's set up for another $4 gain early post-market start. And then we've got some of the others, MTB. This one is a little expensive for me for a regional bank, and there's stuff going on there that I'm just going to stay away from right now. JPM at 202, that's had a nice little gain from 192. I'm going to wait to see if we get a little bit of pullback on these before we get into the earnings season. If they climb right up to kind of a peak, which is what they're getting close to, and then get to earnings are going to have to be exceptional for them to pop it all. What could happen is if they do a pre-climb, earnings are announced, they could actually drop, and then that would be an opportune time to buy into those. So it's important to watch the trends, and sometimes you can predict them, sometimes you can't, but it is important to be aware of what they are. I am stocking up on SoFi. I've got a large holding and stake in SoFi. I love it at $6.61. I know this stock is going to get up to the mid to high $7 range before the end of the year, and that $1 gain will be a significant gain when it comes to percentage terms. So good luck with your trades today. Be aware that the Fed is making an announcement on Wednesday. So that may have a bit of an effect around 2 o'clock in the market on Wednesday, heading into that Thursday Independence Day holiday on the Thursday. But good luck with your trades. If you're liking this channel, please subscribe and tell someone about it.